Welcome to Swayam's massive open online course on financial management. Today's class is on Introduction to Political Economy, which is an integral part of the financial economy. Just to give a background and introduction about my name is Ashek Bonhoeffer. I teach political science at the Department of Political Science, Madras Christian College, Chennai. So today's main discussion is going to be on what political economy is all about. To understand this concept, I'm not going to go into the agenda, but I'm just going to ask three important questions. First one is, what is political economy? All right. We will understand that in due course of this slides. Second is it right to connect both these words, political and economy? Because many times you will find that politics is different from economics, but is it right to connect these two words is also another important aspect that we'll be talking about today. Third one is, does this mean there's a meaning change when these words political economy are combined, right? If it is separate, is it different from those when it is combined? So all these discussions will happen today. It is of course a broad topic, but of course we'll go step by step and try to understand what political economy is all about. So what is political economy? All right, is it a new concept? Is it an old concept? Right? It is not a new concept. It is definitely an old concept. It is as old as the theory of political science is, its theory of economics is. But however, if you look at the current terminology, economics per se, we no more use it as political economy. We only use economics as one standalone topic. But in fact, in the olden days, it was combined together. It was originally called as political economy, right? If you take the Greek history per se, you will find that in Greek, economics mean management of household, right? Eventually you will find that economics was exclusively management of household. And what happens when it comes to nations? That is where we stand in terms of political economy, which means management of nations. So basically, political economy is an old word which means management of nations. It is eventually you will find that political economy has been renamed as economics. Let us first look into the definitions, right? What political economy defines by various important scholars, and how we kind of construed it to our current day system. If you look at the discussion, the first one is I've given you from the Britannica, which says political economy is a branch of social science that studies the relations between individuals and society and between market and state, using a diverse set of tools and methods drawn largely from economics, right? It's quite clear to say it is brought from various aspects: society, politics, economics. So it is a broad topic, right? The term political economy is derived from the Greek polis, which is politics, city or state, and then oikonomos, which means the one who manages household or estate, right? Political economy thus can be understood as a study of how to run a country. The public household is managed or governed, taking into account both political and economic factor. And this definition is from the Britannica Encyclopedia. Another important scholar whom we should try to understand is Alejandro Fuxtey, who was the Chilean Minister of Finance, right? You see it in the slide, and this is what he had to say. Economists must not only know their economic models, because many a times we will only find that economists just basically talk about economic models or on how to interpret various models, but also to understand politics, interests, conflicts, passion, the essence of collective life, right? For a brief period of time, you can make changes by degree, but to let them persist, you have to build coalition, bring people around. You have to be a politician. So economics is not complete unless you take politics unless you take society into the full understanding, right. That is what Alexander Foxy would like to say, and this absolutely means what to expect from the current system. Any differences, you will be able to understand that it is incomplete. So, economics per se cannot stand alone, political science or politics cannot stand alone, society can just not stand alone, right. So, that is from that is what we derive from Alexandro Foxy. Alfred Marshall, right, as early as 1890 had to say this: political economy or economics is a study of mankind in the ordinary business of life. It examines the part of individual and social actions which is mostly connected with the attainment and use of material requests of well-being, right. So, you can't understand political economy by just not looking at the trade alone, right. You also need to look at the resources. What kind of resources do people have? What kind of resources that country has? So, all these kind of contribute to what a political system is, what a political economy system is, and also how a society will grow. So, Alfred Marshall kind of defines political economy on these lines. So, what do we infer from all this? All right. So, from the three definitions that I just mentioned earlier, the three aspects that we the three aspects that we actually derive is economics, politics, institution and society go hand in hand. There is no difference that if you look at it, right. Unless these three go hand in hand, that is when a nation will work, that is when the world will work. So, these three are aspects. If you see in the bullet points, you will find that institutions have specifically mentioned some of them. For example, the government agencies, right. Every government agencies will have to decide what and how an economy should be, right. When you go for an election, if you go for a government, you should have what kind of economic policy you should follow. So, that is what goes in place. If you do not have money, you can't run the government. If you do not have money, you can't run full system. So, government agencies play an important role. Stock exchanges, stock markets, they play the current role throughout the world. If you understand, ever since we started the globalization and liberalization process, every country is now connected and stock markets play an important role. If not for stock markets, I am afraid we will not have an economic system at all. International political economy basically depends on the stock markets. Next is of course the banks. For any finance, for any transaction, banks will have to support you, right. Here I have given you three banks, that is the World Bank, you have the New Development Bank, that is the BRICS Bank, and of course the Asian Development Bank for our conception, because we get a lot of loans from Asian Development Bank. World Bank gives money for us with regard to the development work, right. So, that is important. In addition to that, we also need to look at two other important institutions. One is called as the International Monetary Fund, which looks at how the currency conversion, what kind of a system that developing states should have, the developed states should have. So, those are part of the IMF. Then of course, the World Trade Organization, which dictates the trade privileges that every country has. So, World Trade Organization is now an important aspect of the international trade and also international political economy. So, all these institutions, if you see it, will play an important role in running a country. So, if you take these institutions, definitely they are influencing the government, definitely they are influencing the political system, definitely they are also influencing the economic system. So, if none of these play, then we will have a failed state, a failed economic system. So, we are beyond the standalone instructions of just economics and politics. So, let us, before understand what the current system is, let us look at a bit of history. So, this systematic study of economics starts quite late. It is around 1600s. If you see, many of the people like Adam Smith and other scholars, they all emerged only after the 16th century. So, it is only after that that we have a systematic study of economics. Does it mean that they did not have any study of economics prior to this region, right? In fact, they do, right? In the Roman system, the economy kind of talks about what the city states, the main cities have, and how the local or villages kind of contributed to the main cities, right. That happened to be the their economic culture. When people wrote about it, they also wrote how these villages contributed to the growth of the major cities. So, that is an important factor when it comes to the Roman Empire. To understand political economy, of course, we need to look at the evolution of it. Is it recent or old? Yes, of course, in the earlier slide, I did give you the idea of how it started in the olden days. But if you look at the actual political economy or economics, in fact, the more concrete system starts with the 16th century, where scholars like Adam Smith and others, they contribute more towards the theory of political economy, right. And does it mean that it just started only from then? No, right. It started during the Roman period itself, right. If when you look at the Roman period, you will understand that their economy was between how the cities and the villages were playing. In fact, for the growth of city, you will have a lot of villages supporting them, the peripheral regions supporting them, and they were completely dependent on it. So, it did not mean that political economy did not start then. The problem is, it was not complete, right. When you talk about political economy, they are only talking about how these two factors influence the political system. So, though it was there as early as the Roman Empire, not a concrete theoretical economic start until the 16th century. After 16th century, of course, we have political economy that is influencing the current system. Coming to how did it all become so concrete, right? The minute people started looking at money, people started looking at trade in terms of gold, silver, that is when people actually started taking economics more seriously. There have been various contexts to say people were already looking at barter system. It was without barter system you can never live, but with the paper currency or with the coin per se, actually the whole idea of economics can change, including the political idea of political science, political economy that kind of changes after the flow of coins as well as the silver and gold. I am just going to give you two examples here, one about China, another one about India. Look at China, right. So, how did China grow? What is something that was fascinating about China? Starting from 14 before Common Era up to 1450 Common Era, China was kind of playing an important role when it comes to silk trade. Look at the map here, you will find every road from China was trying to link itself to the European region. So, they were trading a lot of silk from China, and that is why it was also called as the Silk Route, right. Now, you have something called as the Maritime Silk Route, you have the Belt and Road Initiative. The start point is the ancient Silk Road, right. And the way the Chinese were exporting and the way the Europeans, especially the Roman Empire accepted, the silk became the quantity of the rich people, right, not ordinary people. Silk became something, a product of the rich, and they would like to use it, and China kind of exhibited on all those. They were having a good trade, especially with the rich, the Roman Empire, right. So, this did not stop alone with this export of silk, but you also have other garments, merchants kept using this trade. So, the trade was moving up and down. Mind you, this trade did not depend on just barter system. They also had barter system, they also had the currency, the gold and silver being traded across. So, this is the primary, right. In fact, the Chinese, the Han government, they always call it as the Chinese peace, right. This same is replicated by the current government in China under Xi Jinping, where he's talking about the Chinese piece, where they are investing world over. We are trying to talk about how the glory of China can be replicated, right? With more and more trade, silk trade to the Roman region, China gained a lot of gold, and then they were also economically growing, right? So, this is one other way where trade kind of influenced. Trade did not happen just because there was silk that was exported. You need to have a safe trade route. So, both the entire trade route as well as the Han government as well as the Roman Empire, they were most stable. Hence, they were able to keep the trade going. Had there been a lot of confusions, of course, there were bandits on the road. Of course, there were challenges when it comes to trade. Not always things went fine, but to large extent, you will find that trade did not have any issues, right? It was just happening. Had there been a lot of disturbances, burdens on the road, of course, things would have not gone far off, right? So, this is one example where Chinese developed thanks to the silk, thanks to the political system, thanks to the economic forwardness that they had, and the wealth that the Europe had kind of slowly started to going towards the Chinese, and growth, Chinese growth kind of exacerbated when it comes to their the history that started from the 114 before Common Era and lasted up to 1450 Common Era. It does not mean that Chinese stopped trading. Chinese did continue their trade. After silk, of course, you had tea. There are a lot of other things that went on. But of course, once the colonial system happened, Chinese, more than having direct trade, it was the colonial masters who were acting on behalf of the Chinese. Next example I would like to look at is, of course, India, right? If you look at Indian case, while the Chinese were exporting silk, India was actually exporting cotton. Silk is for the rich people. Silk is for the luxury population, right? While cotton is meant for the general population. Our exports were sometimes far greater than the Chinese. In fact, if you look at the statistics at point of time, prior to the colonial masters coming here, India was 23% of the world economy. That is how the numbers were, right? This is of course an acknowledged number. We have Mr. Shashi Tharoor talking about this in his various forums. Of course, there are Indian historians who have time and again mentioned about this India being 23% of the world economy. And how did it happen? It has been well documented. The one best reason was the export of cotton. Of course, we have also had other factors that influenced this trade, other products that influenced trade, but cotton became primary where the common people could use it. The cotton trade, other products trade kind of pushed India to a very high pedestal prior to the colonial masters coming here. India's fall starts after the colonial masters coming here. In fact, if you look at Marx's work, his work is all about what happened in Britain after the Industrial Revolution. Again, let me quote Shashi Tharoor, where he says, India funded the entire, the Industrial Revolution in UK and in Europe, right? If not for the raw materials that went from India, Industrial Revolution never would have happened there. Right? They had to depend on the colonies. That in fact started quite early, lasted up to the colonial masters leaving India, right. So, India equally contributed. India was quite famous. How did they become so famous? It is because of the political scenario, which is more stable, and also common people in Europe accepting Indian product. Had there been no trade, had there been no acceptance from the European side or from the Indian side, India would have not grown so well. So, that is again what political economy means. Let us look at the current system. It is an interesting, I have put this two, it's a picture where you have a bull and bear. The reason why I have put the bull and bear is just to give emphasis on what stock market is all about, the role played by the stock market. If not for the stock market, things are not going well at all. Okay. So, now we are totally dependent on a new system of understanding, right? Political economy means how you have globalized. Until 1990, we were little globalized. After 1990, we have exposed ourselves more than what we can, and it is going to be there for decades, years, centuries to come. In fact, they also say if Europe catches cold, Europe sneezes, India catches cold. That is true of every country. Anything that happens worldwide will have an impact on the Indian stock market. Look at the banking crisis that happened in 2006-7. As soon as the banking crisis happened, Indian stock market started shivering. So we had a lot of issues then, right? I'm trying to emphasize the importance of stock market. Indian stock market is actually doing well thanks to the strong fundamentals that we have, thanks to the regulators, good regulators that we have. Despite issues, our Indian stock market is doing phenomenally well. Yet, because we are globalized, that becomes part of our political economy, right? What happens? If you may understand, when the Ukraine war started, of course we started feeling heat. When the banking crisis happened, we started feeling heat. Now the Israel war has started, Israel-Palestine war has started, again the stock markets will start slowly reacting. So world over, whenever there is a crisis, the stock markets kind of reflect it badly. So does politics mean, or political economy mean, what happens in stock market, what happens in trade, what happens in the development practice? No. Even a conflict, even a small factor that induces a country to go offline, that will kind of hit on the political system, right? The minute political system is affected, the economy will have an impact. The minute economy has an impact, then the political system will feel the heat. So this is happening time and again, and current understanding of economy is gone beyond the ancient system. Sorry, one thing I've forgotten to mention is about the, you look at these agencies, Ola, Uber, Airbnb and financial institutions. If you see, Ola does not own any cars, same as with Uber, right? But they are able to spread their wings throughout the world. Airbnb, if you see, they are an institution that kind of brings in all the hotels into their fold. They don't own a hotel, but they are there in every country. Can we throw Ola out? Can we throw Uber out tomorrow? We cannot, right? That is how the stringent system is. Recently, India kind of went on a ban on various Chinese softwares, but they couldn't ban the products, because you ban a particular product, you will start having impact politically as well as economically. So the reason why I am trying to tell you here is we are integrated economically to various other countries. You can't just like that change a system, right? That is an example that we need to look at. In fact, you may not even have an actual wealth, right? You may not even have actual money, but you are rich. That's a new concept that has come into the political economy, especially the international political economy, where the institutions play a larger role. The financial institutions play a larger role. Money keeps moving, right? A newer concept that has come in the recent years is of the cryptocurrency, right, which plays a bigger role in these days in terms of changing funds, transferring from one country to another. It is not regulated, yet cryptocurrency is popular these days. So that is again political, that is again economics, right? Why? Cryptocurrency has an economic effect, and politically we are supposed to kind of regulate it, and we try the best way to regulate it. So that is part of the political economy that we are looking at. So you may not have money in hand, but yet you are rich. That is how the world has come to. So let us look at the other factor. I even told you that the Ola doesn't have, the Uber doesn't have. How about Amazon and Flipkart? How many products that Amazon own? Amazon is just what you call it, is the local shop, like you just go online and you book. the minute you start ordering particular product, you automatically get it. They need not own it, but they can run the whole show. They've gone so much that they kind of start influencing the economy. Government will have to come with special policies to regulate these online shops. Let's look at it. You buy a product from a shop, you can feel that product. If it is in the cover, you can take a look at the demo piece, you can look at it and then you buy it. Now you won't do it, you only look at it in the virtual screen and you believe that it is good. So that product you book, it comes to your home. When it comes to your home, you may feel it is good, you may start using it, but sometimes if you don't feel good, you may return it. Not all products have the return policy, right? You will have to use it, right? If that product is fake, there is some issue, whom do you take it to? If it is a local shop, then you can take it to the local shop and say, this is what your product is. You can check there and there, but that is not with Amazon or Flipkart. Of course, these days they come with new regulations which say that the people who deliver it to you, they will come, check, and then they can, once you are convinced, then they will go. That is how much these people have expanded themselves. Why is it they have expanded themselves? You should understand, the more there are complaints, government comes with regulations. If they find that these aggregators, these commercial agencies are letting people down again and again, then there is more chances that the government will take actions against them. So, even if they take actions, can you throw them out of India? You cannot throw them out of India. Right? You can only stop their activities. You can bring in more regulations, more stringent aspects into the system where they are properly regulated. So, that is where you have the wealth, money, physical money, even if it is not there, yet people kind of influence. That is what we are looking at. So, look at all these changes. You will find that political economy is just not study about society, economy and government alone, right? These are important, but the current political system, the political economy system has gone beyond it. That is where I have given you this. The flow of money is important, right? If people don't invest in your country, there is a problem. If people don't, say you are working abroad, you are working in Dubai or in US and you want to send money back to India, India should facilitate that process. If that process is not facilitated, what happens? Money does not come in, family will suffer. So, there are a lot of issues that we have. Eventually, the country will also suffer. Once family starts suffering, the country will also suffer because we are intriguely intertwined. So, flow of money is important. During the 1990s, when we had economic crisis, it is always said that people who are working in Gulf and other places as humble workers, they sent or they remitted a lot of money back to India, which in turn supported India's survival, right, during the 1990s. So, they again play an important factor there. So, flow of money is number one, which is important, and flow of money we should facilitate. For example, when the Russian war started, Russia's war on Ukraine started, Americans went on a ban on the SWIFT code used by the Russian bank. Money was not able, people were not able to send money to Russia. At that point of time, India had to negotiate with many of the actors so that our students were studying in Russia. How do you support them without money being transferred from India to Russia? What will happen to them in case money does not reach there? So, we had to talk to a lot of people. So, flow of funds is primary and important. Second, investments. For every nation to grow, you have to have investment. That is where our leaders go around the world trying to get maximum investments to India. You talk about 20,000 crore, 30,000 crore, they are asking people to come invest. So, that only by investment your local economy will also develop. Third is of course, the debts that we have, right. Not always that a country is rich. India is of course rich country. We are a developing country. We are heading towards a $5 trillion economy in the next few years. That is all there, but still we also have a mounting debt. Any project that we do, we get it through debts that we get from the international institutions. So, that is again a concern that we have, but again that is part of the political economy. resources, right? In the recent years, rare earth material is an important factor. That influences the international trade. People try to tap on rare earth material. The phones that you use, the laptops that you use, all these kind of depend on the rare earth material. And if people start or if that kind of a flow of rare earth material is stopped or hurdled, then of course we are in a crisis, right? So, resources is important, right? Oil, what happens? Oil doesn't come to India. This happened in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka didn't have enough money to pay for oil import, and the country kind of went into a financial crisis. So, that is an important factor. Flow of oil is important for all of us. Then of course, development, right? What is happening in Pakistan is a fantastic example where the country has not developed, right? Countries seem to have stagnated somewhere, because of which you will find that their economy is not going stronger. It is becoming more and more weak, and because the economy is becoming weaker, you will find the politics is also having a hit on it, right? Same is also with Sri Lanka, where they were dependent on the tourism sector. Because of COVID, the tourism sector came to a complete halt, and when they recovered from COVID, the country had utilized all the reserves that it had, and they couldn't even survive after that. India had to support them. So, you will find development is primary. Without any development, very hard. For a development to go well, you need to have a proper political structure. If there is no proper political structure, if it is haphazard, believe me, development will never happen. Right? So, that is again a number factor. Job opportunities, if people don't get out job opportunities, what happens? There will be more youth who do not have jobs, it will lead to social crisis. The minute it starts social crisis, you have civil war. Many African states have this kind of a problem. So, job loss, job opportunities, if you are not able to provide to your people, then there is a crisis. Conflict, right? The country like Ukraine, which was actually doing well, suddenly thanks to the conflict, the whole country is now hit, right? Because of conflict, you will have refugee issue coming up, you will have health issue coming up, all these kind of contribute, right? Conflict is typically political and social, right? That is because you have conflict, it has an impact on economics, because the trade stops, and once the trade stops, the country suffers. Not only that particular country suffers, the relative countries also suffer. So, that is an important factor. Of course, the defense add to it. The new age conflict or the new age challenge now is about the data that we have. Every day we are amassing maximum levels of big data. Big data is also about economics, remember that, because if big data does not translate itself to economics, then what happens to the technology that we have? What happens to the development of the technology that we are looking at, right? Every phone now gets outdated in 2 years, and you need to buy a new phone. Why do you need to buy a new phone? Because the technology is changing. How do you know that technology is changing? How do you know that you need to refine the technology? That big data kind of supports it. So, data becomes primary in these days. Another factor that we are looking at is health. If a country's health is not good, believe me, growth is definitely detrimental, right? So, health is yet another factor we are looking at. Recently the entire world suffered thanks to the COVID. Because the COVID we suffered, the world suffered, economy suffered. So, that is also now part of it. So, all these factors kind of contribute towards political economy, and unless we address this, unless we look at it as one full composite subject, you will never be able to understand separate subjects, right. With that, I'll end. Any questions, I've given you my email ID. You also have my web page where the profile is given. You are free to contact me. Thank you.